Hi friends, this is Crystal from Homemaking on the Homestead, and today we are going to make strawberry cranberry jam. And I know you're probably thinking this time of the year isn't really the time of the year to be making jam, but you know what? With frozen fruit, it is the perfect time of year. And I love this recipe because it is, I call it my holiday jam, because it does have the cranberries in it, and basically this time of year is the only time you can buy cranberries. So if you think this is a recipe that you would like to try sometime, make sure you pick up some extra cranberries. You can toss them in your freezer and pull those out whenever you want to make this jam. But this is such a good tasting jam, and the jars look so pretty, and I just wanted to show you how I do this. So I have everything set up here, and I'm going to move the camera so that you can see how I do this. These are the ingredients that you are going to need to make this. For starters, you need 3 pounds of strawberries. I buy mine frozen from Costco in a nice big 4-pound bag. The leftovers I'll put in smoothies or whatnot, but all grocery stores have frozen strawberries, so that's perfect. You can use a scale to measure them out, or you can just kind of wing it. Whichever. I don't think it's necessarily that particular. Okay, the next thing you'll need is 12 ounces of cranberries. Mine are frozen because they were left over from last year. You'll also need 8 cups of sugar, 2 boxes of pectin. I use Sure Gel because that's my favorite, a tablespoon of lemon juice, and a teaspoon of butter. The butter is used to help the fruit from bubbling too much and overflowing your pot when it's all cooking. The tools that come in very handy are a jar lifter to put your jars in and out of the canner. You need a funnel for filling up the jars. And this little handy thing is nice for just picking up your metal lids and putting them on if they're hot. And lastly, on the top we add the pectin. I leave it sit on the top for a while until the fruit has defrosted, because I don't want the pectin burning at the bottom. You could also add or put on a lid if you wanted to help hold in the heat. Okay, now we wait. Just make sure you stir as soon as things start warming up so that nothing sticks and burns. Oh, it's looking good. There's still some in here that are frozen. When it gets to the point that they're all defrosted but haven't broken down yet, you can speed the process up by using a stick blender, which is probably what I used a stick blender on it, as you can see, and because I needed to get this show on the road. I didn't want to spend all day waiting for it to heat up and break down. So now that the fruit is hot and broken up, it's time to add the sugar. It's also time to turn it up to high, because we need this now to come to a boil. And it has to come to what they call a full rolling boil. And that is when, no matter how much you stir, you cannot stir the boil down. You know, as something begins to boil and you stir it a couple times, the boil stops. Well, in this case, you got to wait until you stir it and the boil doesn't stop. And that's called a full rolling boil. Okay, while I'm waiting for that, I am going to move my jars over to the counter. The recipe makes, I'll bring you around here a bit so you can see. The recipe makes 13 half-pint jars. I have very few half-pint jars. I make this every year and I give it away. I put it in half-pint jars and then I give it away as gifts. So every year I need to, work on buying more jars, and I haven't done that yet. So right now I have I've got pint jars, I've got 10-ounce jars, I have 12-ounce jars. So whatever holds the jam works for me. I've also had my lids soaking in hot water to soften and expand them to get them ready to put on the jars. So as soon as our jam does its thing, we'll be ready to put it into the jars. Okay, let's see how we're doing here. All right, it's looking good. Once you reach a full rolling boil, according to the pectin, this is the pectin surgel that I use. Different pectins may have different instructions, but once it reaches a full rolling boil, you need to boil and stir for 1 minute. And then you can remove it from the heat. All right, well, it's definitely starting to boil. But every time I stir it, the boil goes away. So we don't call that a rolling boil yet. Now, do you see how I'm stirring? And it's not going off. All right, my timer is set for 1 minute. I should say I'm stirring and the boil isn't going away. This is a full rolling boil. And my 1 minute timer is going. And I will say at this point, jam splatters everywhere. So when you're cooking it, make sure you're wearing an apron and realize that you're going to have a lot of splattery cleanup to do after the fact. There's my timer. Turn my burner off, and I'm going to set this back here to remove it from the heat, and then we'll get ready for the next step. Measuring cup, and that's just what I like to do. Some people use ladles, but I like a measuring cup, and I'm just going to fill my jars up. Okay, now that I have all these beautiful jars filled, you can see all these here. It's hard to get the right angle on my countertop. But I have all these lovely jars filled, and now I'm going to put the lids on and get them into my boiling water bath. Before I put the lids on, I take a clean, damp washcloth and I wipe the rims to make sure there's no sticky jam on there that would prevent it from sealing properly. Okay, that has been wiped off, and now it is time for me to put the lids on. And I can use my little trusty jar lifter here. I know you can't see everything just because of the angle, but I'm taking my lids that are in my warm water and putting them on my jars. And now it's time for the rings. And you just put them on finger tight. They don't need to be wrenched down. I just used my pressure canner and I put a pizza pan on top for a lid, and it works and makes a beautiful boiling water bath counter. Okay, it is on the verge of boiling. I've had it low. I'm going to turn it up on high now. It's really hot, and it's time for me to put my jars in there. With a boiling water bath, you want to make sure that all your jars are submerged and that the water is about 1 inch over the top of the jars. I have one kind of tall guy here, so we'll see. Hopefully I won't have to add any more water. By the time I get all these jars in, that kind of lifts the level of the water. Yep, it's going to be fine. All right, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 jars of various sizes, and I'm going to put the lid back on and wait for it to come to a nice heavy boil. And it will need to boil, these jars will need to boil for 10 minutes. My timer is about to go off. There it is. And I'm going to take the lid off. Careful of steam because it's coming out pretty strong. And I'm going to turn the burner off. And I'm going to take out these jars. See what we got here. Oh, pretty. Aren't those beautiful? These, by the way, make amazing Frugal Christmas gifts. I make this pretty much every year and give it away as gifts. One just popped. And I always get amazing feedback from people when I do, because the flavor is just so good. You can really taste the sweetness of the strawberries, the slight tangy of the cranberries. It's just so much better than anything you can get in the store. All right, there we go. All the jars are out of the canner. Now you just want to let them sit and cool on their own. Don't mess with them. Don't try to take the rings off. Don't check the lids. Just let them come down to room temperature all by themselves. Isn't that pretty? Canning is always such an amazing feeling of accomplishment. It didn't really take much time at all to make this, and the benefits are so Hey friends, thanks for spending the afternoon with me making jam. I had a really good time. I hope you enjoyed it too, and that you're encouraged to get some fruit. Frozen fruit works great. If you have fresh this time of year, well, that works too. But go ahead and make some jam. Your family will enjoy it. You'll have nice Frugal Christmas gifts to give away if you want. It's just an all-around easy project, and the results are not only pretty but delicious too. So I hope you like this. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, and if you enjoyed it and were encouraged by this, I'd love to have a comment from you as well. Until next time, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.